Hi. What are you going to remember about Will McDonald when this is kind of all said and done?
Yeah, that's probably a great question. I think to me, the transformational growth in Will as a human being is far greater than anything that he's done for us on the football field. I think what he's accomplished as a man, what he has done in terms of academically, socially, and really I think what he's going to become when he leaves here, those are going to be the things I'll probably be most proud of. And obviously he's been a great football player, but a way greater human being.
Do you remember his first sack?
I don't.
Do you remember your first sack?
No. No. Now I did joke with Will that at one point I think I was in the room before the season started that I had the most sacks of anybody. So, but no, I don't remember those things from Will. Like I said, I think who Will is, that smile that he walks in with 90% of the time, and what he's accomplished as a man is really what I'm beyond proud of.
Matt, in the same vein, Will, isn't defined by numbers, as you said, and I know you've worked a lot on him being improving in run support, being more of an every down possibility. How has he developed just into a more well-rounded edge guy?
Yeah, and I think Will can do so many things. I think just one of the most versatile players that we've ever coached. I mean, Will could play any of the linebacker positions, probably could play middle safety, to also having the ability to put his hand down and just be such a dominant football player on the edge of the defense. And, I think that's why his ceiling is so high going forward. I think he'll be, he's got a chance to play football for a long time and do it at a really high level, which is really exciting. And I think he's made himself into a great football player. I think, just even what he's done against the run this year, the physicality, the ability to set the edge, it's been nothing short of exceptional. So he's having a phenomenal year, and I think those are the things that's really rewarding to see where he is, and really has made himself into maybe one of the most coveted defensive players going forward, as we get closer to the NFL draft here in a couple months.
Notice that obviously your two corners are going to get a majority of the snaps, but Porter and Kyle also getting a fair amount. Are you playing more like with a slot corner there? Has that maybe been a product of having some injuries there at safety and getting those guys on the field?
A little bit. I think Darian's seen most of his time truly at corner. Tavon has played, field safety, corner, does a lot of things. Tavon's a really versatile football player. And so, a guy that's a senior that's playing really good football, and really over the course of the last 5 to 6 weeks, it's just been a guy that we felt really important to get on the field to help our football team.
How about with injuries? What's J.R. Singleton's status, and how are you looking on both sides there?
Yeah, J.R. just been dealing with illness, really. So, we think we'll hopefully be able to get him back a little bit this coming week. And, other than that, we feel like from an injury standpoint, we're in a really good place. Yeah, Gyro, I think, we'll see today as we go out to practice, but, was in practice on Sunday and kind of back at it a little bit. Where he is, we'll probably know a little bit more as we go through the week, but at least physically able to get out and practice right now.
When you rewatched Saturday's game, what did you see offensively in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, I just think, again, for us, the execution was elite in the fourth quarter of the football game. And, from the blocking to the running to, obviously the quarterback play, I thought we really executed as well as we had all year. Really, in all honesty, the whole second half of that football game, that's as well as we've played from an execution standpoint and a precision standpoint on the offensive side.
I don't think you've wavered all year long, but when those guys have that on tape and you can say when you do it right, this is what happens. Is that validating to them going forward and sustainable that this is what they can do?
Yeah, I think that those are, we talk about, obviously, I think anytime you're growing, and so much of that group is all growing, you talk about moments where there's breakthroughs, and I thought, at least in the second half of that football game against a really talented defense, you saw a breakthrough where, man, there was high-end execution across the board. And so, I think those are great things to have happen. I think it's telling that, that group is still pounding away at it, in the month of November, and, you're well into the football season. And I've always felt like our teams continually get better as the season goes. And I think there is some validation of, man, this is what we can do, and this is what it can look like when it's done with precision and detail, because I think those are the things we've been pounding away at. And as you've heard me talk, inconsistency has hurt us at times. And, to get that consistency and then to see the end result of it, I think those are huge things for us.
What's Dion bring to the running back room, and I guess how much of a spark did he kind of provide on Saturday? Is that something you kind of hope for moving forward with him?
Yeah, I think Dion's been a guy that's probably has not been talked about probably enough, and probably a lot. The reason of it is just because of the inconsistencies we've had. But really, since Kansas, Dion has went into the football game, and I really thought did a great job for us, gave us a chance to survive those couple weeks where it was like, man, what the heck is going on at running back, and I think for Dion has always been a guy that's provided a spark. Even a year ago, when he got into the games, late in games, he provided something, a spark of something positive to happen, and I think that really he's done an incredible job of being consistent. He's been one of the guys that, man, each week you talk about, you're looking for the guys that are doing it right with great consistency, and he's really been that for us over the stretch of the last 6 to 7 weeks. And it's fitting that his run is kind of what sparks it, and I really felt like he's been a guy that's done everything we've asked him to do with great consistency. So yeah, I hope it only continues for him. But I think when you really look at his play over the course of his career so far, he's brought a spark to our football team every time he's been in.
Talk about the spark. Is there one play, one spark in particular that really stands out that you were like, that's a moment we really needed?
Well, the big run that Dion makes, after right in the beginning of the fourth quarter, and I think, Hines, you asked about it, on Saturday, and you go back and watch the game. That is a big play in the game, and I obviously it's really well blocked. Trevor's got a phenomenal block on the Mike linebacker. Huff does a great job cutting off the backside defensive tackle, who's a great player, and man, Dion just slithers through there and makes a big run. And then the next possession, he makes another big run down our sideline. And so, big plays, that's part of momentum, and I think we've been looking for the consistency of, not only creating momentum plays, but then sustaining those plays and finishing those plays off. And I think the two things that both those runs happen is we scored touchdowns off of both of those. We finished and we gave ourselves real momentum, which, we've had some momentum plays, just haven't finished them. So I think those are two big plays in that game that we were able to finish on. And I think, it's like, man, what do you talk about? You talk about putting it all together with consistency. So I think those, you have to have a spark to do it, but then you got to go finish it. And I thought those were the reasons why you're fired up a little bit about what we were able to accomplish Saturday.
Coming into this one against Oklahoma State, what's it like going into a game where you're kind of preparing for 3 different quarterbacks depending on which one comes out healthy and which one doesn't?
Yeah, I think the reality, you look at this is the most veteran team in our conference. I mean, you're talking about the amount of guys that we're playing against that I feel like we've played against for the last 5 years on offense and defense is staggering. And, this is a team that has battled some injuries over the course of the last couple of weeks, but when you talk about a Mike Gundy coached offense, it's not changing a whole lot. What they do is what they do. They've got great playmakers on the outside. They're really well coached on the offensive line. They've got always a consistent, really great running game, and you got to prepare for the total whole. And so, no matter what or who, then you're going to get a team that's got elite playmakers at every area, and you got a guy at the trigger position that is well versed in the scheme. And I think that's the thing that Coach Gundy brings to the table is, man, you can go through the course of the last 20 years, what they're doing on the offensive side of the football really hasn't varied, no matter who's been in a quarterback. So, I think we at least know, have a global understanding of what we're preparing ourselves for.
Matt, I know you talked about after the game, will you be defined about what you've been so far, or can you transform yourself? And obviously encouraged by the result on Saturday, but what was it like getting with the guys on Sunday, your player-driven leadership? Or was there anything you saw then that's like, man, the steps are coming now.
Well, I just think, for us, this is staying the course, and the same thing, win or lose, man, it is a game. Here's what we did well on Sunday. Obviously, to feel the sense of victory and to understand why we won the football game, to the reasons why over the last couple of weeks we've been pounding away of, man, here's why we haven't won the game. I think those are huge, growth steps when you're talking about a young football team. The key is, man, can we keep growing? Because obviously there's still things in that game across the board where if we can grow from it and learn from it, then we can transform ourselves into a team that has a chance to have reached its full potential by the end of this football season. And I think that's what, you're always trying to pound away at. Whatever the result is or is not, you're trying to continue to grow so you can be the best version of yourself.
And touchdown catch Deshaun made in that game with the guy draped all over him. I know it goes without saying with a number of what Charlie and Chase left on this program, but you're starting to see, consistent production from that group.
Yeah, I think those are things that are really exciting. Again, you're talking about all of those guys. There's a huge play to start the second half on our 1st and 10. And Easton Dean makes that incredible catch over the middle. And it's a huge first down in the game that kind of gets that drive going. We end up driving down. And then you talk about, obviously, Deshaun's play. And, those guys have, in my opinion, that group has really grown through this season. And, Deshaun's made some big plays in the red zone for us. He's had some great catches. And, I think what's awesome about that play is, you're right, Deshaun makes an incredible catch. Equally, it's one heck of a throw. It's about the only place it can go to be caught. And so, I think the execution of those things, those are those moments that we've talked about on the other end where you're saying, man, we're almost there. We haven't made those plays. We made those plays Saturday, and, it's great for a guy like Deshaun to make that play because you see his growth just continue to happen at a really high rate. And so those things are when you're talking about, man, tangible results to what you're talking about. Those are huge positives.
You talk about a Mike Gundy coached offense, but what happens when that offense flips like a Matt Campbell coached offense flipped last Saturday?
Well, yeah, I think the hard thing is, you're constantly trying to get yourself to be, what you want to do, and who you want to be. And I think when you talk about, boy, we could write the narrative of like what Mike Gundy's offense when at its best, what it looks like, man. You got tempo, you got playmakers, you got running game, you got consistency and balance. And, I think those are things that when they're at their best, man, they're humming, and it's really impressive. And, I think when we've been at our best, you see a sense of balance and consistency that's really impressive. So I think both teams are trying to find those things with the consistency that they want to find them right now to be playing good football. Go ahead.
Was it just a matter of time when we were going to see the reverse or whatever it was, or the option?
Right.
Example, and I'm not even going to go there about the quarterback understanding. Was it just a matter of time when you see that, or what did you need to see in order to pull those plays out?
Well, I think a lot of it, again, is execution, and you look at when those plays come, you're executing to get in position to use those plays. And, I think the biggest thing for us has been inconsistency of execution on the offensive side of the football as we're growing. And, I think trust, a little bit of, you want to consistently earn that trust to feel like you can execute some of those plays too. And, I think this group is growing, and as the growth happens, the playbook expands and the consistency of play starts to, but it's like, man, you want to be good at something, and I think that's got to be the starting point. You want to get a great foundation underneath you, and, I think this group is certainly starting to get there, but, we still got a long way to go too, and it'll be interesting to watch this group come back, and can we just keep growing forward against a dynamic defense again this week, and certainly what Oklahoma State does on the defensive side. All right, guys, thank you. Yep, thank you.